next curveball, and I'm going to tell you the most commonly missed problems on your test are absolute value problems. Okay? So I'm just telling you right now, I've taught this 1,000 different ways, and we forget the rules. So try your absolute best to remember your rules here. But the real question is, what does absolute value even mean? Oh, yeah.
The valuation is 0?
It is technically the distance from 0, right? The distance from 0. So if you saw like the absolute value of 4, how far is 4 from 0? 4. The absolute value of -7, how far is that from 0? 7. And what the shorthand of what people say is, it's always the positive answer, correct?
Yeah.
It's that number, but it's always positive. Okay? So what's going to happen today is we're going to have absolute value within our equations. But let's just practice again what absolute value means. So this just says evaluate. We're not solving anything. The absolute value of m plus 6 minus 14 if m equals 4. So we need to replace m with 4. To draw your absolute value bars, I would make them taller than your number so that you don't think that they're a 1. Absolute value bars fall under the category of parentheses, aka take care of them first. So inside those absolute value bars, what is 4 plus 6? 10. So I have the absolute value of 10, which is 10. Once I take the absolute value, it can come out of there. 10 minus 14 is -4. And I wrote this problem specifically. Just because it's an absolute value situation doesn't mean your final answer is always positive. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
The piece with the absolute value, yes, is positive, but the operations following it may result still in a negative response or negative answer. Okay, so because absolute value talks about your distance from 0, absolute value equations always have 2 answers. Did you hear me? Do you want me to say it again? Absolute value equations always have 2 answers. Guess what the mistake is? People don't forget both answers. So I'm telling you, the absolute value of f plus 5 is 17. What that means is whatever is inside of here is 17 away from 0. It could be a positive 17 from 0, but it also could be a negative 17 from 0. So the very first thing you should do here is to split these. Drop the absolute value because you're going to split it into 2 separate ones. You're going to tell me f plus 5 can equal 17, exactly how it's written, and f plus 5 could equal -17. Don't change what's inside the absolute value. You change what it's equal to. You change what it's equal to. Everybody follow so far? Okay, on the left, how do I solve for f? Subtract 5. 17 minus 5 is 12. On the right, what should I do? Subtract 5. F equals -22. Just like we talked yesterday, you can always plug in to make sure you're correct, yes?
Correct.
So if F is 12, 12 plus 5 is 17. The absolute value of 17? 17. -22. -22 plus 5. -17. The absolute value of -17 is 17. So your answer is both of these. F could be 12 and F could be -22.
When you answer the questions, do you have to have both of the answers?
Yes, you have to have both of them. Yep. Okay. All right. Let's go to the next one. The absolute value of b minus 1 is equal to -3. To solve absolute value equations, they always have 2 answers. So we take it and we write and okay. On the left to solve. Plus 1. B equals -2. On the right. Plus 1. B equals 4. Ms. Hoff says we should always plug these in and double check. -2, plug it in. -1. The absolute value of -3.
-3.
What?
Okay, listen. We're going to plug in -2. -2 minus 1 is the absolute value of -3 is.
-3. 3.
So what did we do wrong? How did we screw this up?
I don't even know.
Because it's not working when we plug it back in.
The numbers inside the lines have to be
How
positive.
did you screw that?
So what do you mean?
So in the absolute value lines, they have to be positive.
Okay, so what does that mean?
That we have to multiply.
So she threw out there is like the definition, Ms. Hoff, of absolute value is when you take the absolute value number, what do you end up with? A positive, always.
Yeah. Apparently not always.
Always. So guess what? Is there a number I can plug in here that when I take the absolute value of it, I'm going to get a -3? Why not?
Because it's negative.
Because it's negative. Your absolute value cannot equal a negative number. No solution.
So why don't we even use the top of the PR to see that there's negative?
Because if I was just going to tell you, if it's equal to a negative, it's no solution, you're never going to remember that. Now, on the next one, in your homework, where you see the absolute value equals a negative number, what can you write? No solution.
You don't even have to write it out.
Okay? Oops, I did not change this. I changed it on yours. Absolute value of 4y minus 2 equals 26. I didn't change it on my notes. All right, absolute value always has 2 answers. Okay, but Miss Hoff tricked us last time. Absolute value equals 26. No solution. When can I write no solution right away, Jackson? If it's a negative. He's not even listening. Come on, man. Okay. So we split it. 4y minus 2 equals 26. And 4y minus 2 equals -26. Never change what's inside the absolute value. On the left, how do I solve? Add 2. 4y equals 28. Then divide by 4. Y equals 7. On the right, add 2. 4y equals -24. Then divide by 4. Y equals -6. Now let's see if Miss Hoff's really crazy. Okay, you think I am? Some days I think I am too. Plug in 7. 4 times 7, 28 minus 2. The absolute value of 26? 26. Good. -6. 4 times -6. -24 minus 2. The absolute value of a -26? 26. So this one works. Okay? Don't panic just because you have an absolute value. As soon as you have that absolute value, it splits into 2. You have 2 solutions. The temperature of an enclosure for a pet snake should be about 80 degrees Fahrenheit, give or take 5 degrees. Find the max and the min temperatures. All I really want us to do here is to write absolute value equation. We're just going to write the absolute value equation. We're not even going to solve it. When you write an absolute value equation, in your absolute value bars, you go x minus, and this number right here, is your goal or the ideal or the want? What you're aiming for? It's going to equal, and the number you put out here is your give or take, or the change, the variation. So every absolute value equation gets set up like this. Every single one. So if the directions say write an absolute value equation to describe this, you have to fill in two numbers. So in this problem, we literally already know it's going to be the absolute value of x minus something equals a different number. So what's your goal? 80. So absolute value of x minus 80. What's your give or take? 5. Done. That you just have to write the equation. There's only one equation. Absolute value, there's only one. If you were going to solve it, you'd split it into two. Do the next one on your own. Don't solve it. Just write the equation to represent. Ice cream should be stored at 5 degrees Fahrenheit with an allowance for 5 degrees Fahrenheit. Write and solve an equation to find the max and the min. You don't have to solve. Write your absolute value equation to find the max and min. In Mason's words, how do you mess this up? You shouldn't really, right? The absolute value of x minus, what's your goal? 5 degrees. Close your absolute value equals, what's your give or take? 5. That's probably a terrible example, really.
Come on.
I'll try harder next time. All right, the other piece of what we're going to do today is they're going to give us graphs of absolute value answers and ask us to write the equation that would have resulted in this. Okay? So I'm telling you some absolute value equation was written and the answer is 11 and the answer is 19. Okay? So again, our answers are going to be the absolute value of x minus equals. Again, and here is our goal. It equals our give or take. What do you think our goal is? 19. What's my give or take? Okay. So x minus 19 and my give or take is 11. So that would mean x minus 19 equals 11 and x minus 19 equals negative 11. I would add 19. I would add 19. My x's value is 30. That is not right.
No.
Guys, these are the answers. They're not the numbers in your equation. When I solve this equation, my answers are going to be 11 and 19. Before you told me absolute value is always my distance from 0. So like the absolute value of 4 is 4. Okay? Well, these guys aren't trying to get to 0. What do you think they're trying to get to?
I know the answer myself.
Why 15, Mason? Bingo. Did you say that? I'm sorry. Okay? It's the middle. Your goal is the middle, and then you have a give or take. It might be this much higher. It might be this much lower. Now, I'm going to go over this, and you guys are going to be like, this is dumb that she has to explain this. How do you find the middle? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If there's 8 in between them, the middle would occur 4 from one and 4 from the other, yes? Which is how we get 15. So x minus 15 equals 4. There's 4 below it to get to 11 and 4 above it to get to 19. Do the next one on your own. Yep, the bottom one. I got 22 as my middle. Did you? The absolute value of x minus 22 is equal to 5. Question. Could you think of any time that this is not going to be a minus sign? Like, what do you mean?
Like if all of these numbers are there,
If they were negative, like give me 2 negative numbers.
7. Oh,
So
Yeah,
he's saying if
yeah.
there was a point at -7 and -17. What's the middle? What would the middle be? -12. Okay, so you'd write the absolute value of x minus, hey, zip it. You have no clue what's even happening right now. X minus -12. What's my give or take? 5. Subtracting a negative really means you are adding. So in that case, yes, the actual answer would be addition. No, you should not. You should rewrite it. This is not simplified. You do not want to leave it that way. Okay? Where's your homework? You want more notes?
No. Jackson, walk by the door and come back in.
20 to 30 and 33 to 39. No, I'll leave it. Your homework is 20 through 30 and 33 through 39.
or not odd or even.
No, all.